I'd like to give you an update of where we are now as a team. The office where we are now, Vala say that is a team that works behind the scenes to set up what we call the special economic zone, but core to the work of the team is to do what we call an application for designation. That application is an official touch that will say to us that we are officially an SZ area. We've been officially been declared. So I must indicate that here in Atlantis, we're looking at the entire industrial area, including the existing and new factories, which we're going to declare the entire area as a special economic zone. In definitions, the special economic zone is a place set aside for targeted intervention. In this case, it is a DTI, it is a provincial, it's a city program which seeks to set up what we call a green tech manufacturing facility. Our special economic zone is a sector-focused zone which focuses on clean tech manufacturing, anything which saves the environment, your renewable energy, energy efficiency, and any sort of environmentally sensitive manufacturing activities are welcome here. Then there are those which are excluded, which will not allow them to be part of a special economic zone. So what we did last year, we set up this office which is dedicated to liaison with the City of Cape Town, with the DTI and other government departments, provincially and nationally, to work together to say how best can we facilitate this setting of the zone. At national level, we have already at national government declared certain type of areas as SZ and ITZ. We have the Kuha ITZ, we have the Saldanha Bay, which is part of us here. We have East London 1, we have Dubai Trade Port designated last year. Recently, we had cabinet endorsement of what we call Harry Smith SZ, which is one of the very latest. So now we are rushing up for time to say, how do we then put Atlantis to the map to become one of the SZ? There is no guarantee when you apply that you're going to get designated, but it depends on the quality of the work we have done as a team. It depends on the quality of the support we are getting from our stakeholders. Because getting as a designation is one very important element of development, because it will open up opportunities in the long term to attract investors, because they know fairly well there are designated benefits such as the SZ incentive, which they must be getting from national. There's also the city incentive, which are applicable to SZ applicant and non-SZ applicant currently, which works fairly well for us. We already have our first anchor tenant, which is GRI, the blue building across close to the road there. That's one of the city site which has been given to the SZ. It's about 29 hectares. The second site which we have reserved for development is a 38-hectare site next to the Forge Foundry. That is the second site through. But in future, as we get designation, as demand grows through, we are likely to tap into the city's available infrastructure. So now what we did, we're currently working towards the actual submission of the applications, ready for submission. The DTI last week in our offices at Green Cape gave us a go-ahead that if you guys are ready, you can submit your application. Because we have already finalized through national the whole process of stakeholder consultation, where the regulations which held us back for quite a very long time, they've been finalized now. As of last week, they were in the minutes of DTI for signing off, which means officially all SZ will then be allowed to apply through the new regulations, through the new SZ Act of 2014, because you could not apply as SZ across the nation, because until that was been finalized, we couldn't do that. So we are ready for application. We're going to be sending an application the next coming couple of weeks, which we hope by end of August as a deadline that we've set ourselves through. If not, the latest by end of September. But then there's a waiting period, which is up to 3 months to consider, up 3 to 6 months for consideration, because the national board, at national SZ board, which advise the minister, will then be able to sit down with the application and assess it. If there's anything, any gaps which they're picking up, they'll send it back to us, say, no, Western Cape, please provide this information, can we clarify this? So it's going to be that to and from for the next coming 3 to 6 months. So it's not a lengthy process because of the fact that, there's a lot to be done actually. But they won't have too many applications this in time. Because one of the very few ones which we know very well are right, because we do talk to our counterparts. So we might be one of the two to go in now in the first round of approval. So, but we're going to take at least minimum of 6 months going forward. If we have the final designation. Maybe on a process update, through Stanley Fesser's office and our office, we've been talking to a number of investors. So we've developed investor pipeline, but those guys are guys that we must go up and down and run after them, because come designation, the traffic probably might rise as well. So the guys that we've spoken to for 2010, 2011, 2012, onward, 2015, those are the guys that we must regularly make follow-up so that at least they can come invest in our area here. So I can confirm that we've been given a go-ahead to apply for designation, but that process, it won't be as fast as we'd like it to be. 3 to 6 months is not too long, but there are other things to consider from national. So one thing that's positive is that the national asset incentives have been given a go-ahead by DTI, they've been given a go-ahead by National Treasury, they've been given a go-ahead by SARS, meaning those incentives, they are no longer food for thought, they are reality. So they'll be available to potential investors, they'll be available to companies new companies who want to settle in the SZ area and companies who want to expand into the SZ area. So those are qualifying companies. But there are goods which do not qualify, there are goods who qualify. But in our case, because we are a mixed industrial area, we know what is here, what is not here. Because we've already done an assessment of the existing companies Atlantis here. And the guys who come through our show will not allow any company to come through Atlantis which will contradict policy of government. We'll only allow products which will be able to take us forward, to create jobs, to develop our skills, to build our human capacity as well to technology transfer in Atlantis. I'm quite excited because we work quite very hard with the entire team, with Viola, with Mike and the team here office, to try and pull this application. So we're going to have to try and finalize every bits and pieces. We now go to what we call quality check, trying to tie every loose end, and that application will then go through in the next coming couple of weeks. But I'm definitely sure before end of September, that people will have gone to national. So I'm going to pause now here and hand over to Viola and my facilitator. I'll take questions, any questions of clarity.
And could you explain when Atlantis is being identified as a special area, special zone, it means other areas are not being identified. Okay. So what is the benefit to the community of Atlantis if the application is successful as a special zone?
Thanks for that question, my facilitator. The thing is, what you're looking at, we chose certain areas, but 10 of them national, and Atlantis was identified as one of those areas, meaning that with the boundaries of the SZ are not only limited to Atlantis, because we're looking in terms of linking up what we call Atlantis coast-to-coast corridor to try and develop big industrial hubs across the city of Cape Town and surrounding municipalities. So the SZ on its own here, although will exclusively be designated in Atlantis officially, but the impact as well as the connectivity will happen in other industrial parks as well. So it's not only for Atlantis. It's a long-term kind of program, but now officially we'll start this very small area to officially make it SZ, because you cannot declare every area as a special economic zone because the benefits are exclusive. So you need to be officially designated, you must hold a permit, what they call license. You must then appoint an operator permit which will run that particular SZ. So it's not just the fact that because in Atlantis here, therefore the other areas are excluded. Physically they may be excluded, but in terms of linkages, because the guys who are going to be here in Atlantis will rely on the services of other industrial areas, will rely on the services which are available in other parts of Cape Town, even in the province. But official designation can only happen within a particular area. But the strategic linkages of that area happen beyond. So the benefits for communities that once we are able to set up this zone, meaning there are certain type of companies which normally they wouldn't want to settle in any industrial area. They will want to say these are high specialized companies who may say we choose to go to Atlantis because we know there are certain benefits. City of Cape Town provides a full set of benefits, financial and non-financial. National government department provide certain financial and non-financial incentives, which means that once you have all these companies coming to Atlantis, that will stimulate what we call the manufacturing sector in Atlantis, to stimulate the services sector demand, to stimulate the transport and logistics hub. So there's quite a lot of things that are going to be in play here. So basically, as we run SSA, Meaning, you as an SMME, you must say, how best can I plug into this space to try and benefit? Because nobody going to give you a silver platter food. You must best say, this is meant for this thing. There's going to be sector logistics. There's going to be green tech manufacturing. There's going to be all these other subsectors that play a role. You're going to require somebody going to provide hair. Will require somebody going to provide accommodation, will require somebody going to provide transport, somebody going to manage logistics, will require somebody going to provide catering. So there's a lot of opportunities. Not only because in SZ, but because the industrial area, which is booming. Therefore, demand for us to step into is very important. There's going to be a need for people to plug into the issue of skills development. But there's no way we as a team will say, we'll dish out opportunities. You need to tap into these opportunities. You need to seek to say SZ has this particular sector focus. As an SMME, there are a variety of opportunities. So exclusively it's here, but in terms of integration and focus, it cuts across beyond. Because we're in touch with Saldanha Bay ITZ to try and stimulate linkages with them. We try to be in touch with other sectors outside of this area, university and colleges, to say, how best can you guys partner with us here locally to try and sell in Atlantis? Because we know what the challenges are in Atlantis. You guys have told us, we met with you guys. We have read reports about Atlantis, but we can't assume we can do it on our own. We have to rely on what you guys are telling us. Because these are challenges, jobs problems in Atlantis, skills development challenges, and all sort of things. So the SZ, it's here in Atlantis, but its impact is beyond. We try to bring what called regional integration across Western Cape. And we have to be linked up with other SZ across the nation as well, like Northern Cape is our partner. So there are things that we're going to have to share with them in terms of, let's say, the wind towers, there's other things with utilities and cables. We share almost similar facilities. So we're trying to stimulate development, not only here, because Saldanha Bay ITZ is what we call, it's one of the nationally registered program, we don't call SIP, which is the Strategic Infrastructure Program of National. So this one as well, once it's part of that list of registers, it will then get the support from national, because it's part of supporting infrastructure development, it's part of supporting regional development. I'm sorry to be long, but I try to be much more
detailed. I understand.
For the sake of benefit.
Because what is very important is for everyone here to understand that there's a direct value to the community if Atlantis is declared as a special economic zone. One last question. So it's not all the sectors, industrial sectors. It's a very specific focus in terms of the special economic zone within the economy. It's a certain sector. So it's only to do with green economy, it's to do with the green technologies and all of the things which have that particular kind of value. So I think that's also an important qualification within that. And the last comment, if the community is divided and they're fighting about, about whether this thing should happen or should not happen, and there are groups and organizations that undermine this project, what are the prospects of it actually being then implemented? Is it undermined or is it strengthened? We have found. Right?
You can respond to that.
But I see you.
Yeah.
I'll respond to that.
I think it's a very important question that you're asking, Brian, because what we need is a level of unity in terms of two things: understanding the benefit, but more importantly, understanding the contribution that the community must make to assisting this in being successful. I think with most community projects, or most opportunities for communities, one of the biggest plagues is the division. And we're always going to be divided because we have different ideas of what it is we want. But I think it's the same thing in business. You have different roads, but you always want to get to the same point. And everybody, we respect the fact that people have different ways they want to get there. But if we can keep the objective in mind, that the objective here is to stimulate economic growth and activity in Atlantis, then that must be what we focus on. How we get there, who gets what piece of the pie and so on is something we can talk about, but that must be the objective. Economic growth and jobs for Atlantis is our objective. So to answer your question in a short sentence, it will have an impact on the community or not. Supportive of the development of the special economic zone. And that's why it's so important for DTI that they stay in touch with us all the time, so that they can make sure that if there are any bumps in the road, they will try and sort those bumps out.
Can I just, I see quite a few hands. we have also a time problem. I think it's now 10 minutes to 10. And I think we had agreed that we're going to have a time frame to try and finish the discussion by 12. Unless your question is going to, it's very different to, don't ask the same question that was already been asked. Okay? Unless it's very different and helpful to get us to understand what it is we must do, I'm going to ask permission that I have to stop someone then because we have a time problem. Will that be okay if I intervene and say please?
Yes.
And will it also be okay if someone is speaking maybe too long and I ask a question and that person will also then be respectful of everyone else's time? So, do I have your permission that I will be able to intervene where I see that it's necessary to do so? So that we get to the most important thing is, in this conversation, the most important thing is, what are your ideas about what you want in the community? Do you have, and in the letter that each of you were given, it says here, identify at least 3 projects that you think could be put forward for consideration. So that is what the outcome of the meeting must be, that we support, number 1, the ideas of special economic zone, but number 2, we also have ideas as to what we think could help the community in terms of special, these 3, they could use that will come up with 3 projects as to how and the community can benefit. Some ideas, and maybe those 3 ideas will be accepted. Maybe there's more ideas to come up with after this meeting, but that's fine. But at least from this meeting, at least 3 big ideas, big projects, or any ideas that can help to bring development and jobs and opportunities to the community within that Atlantis sector. Okay, so I know there are so many hands. Can we accept that we will, because immediately after this, the idea on the program is also organizations must just briefly introduce themselves. So when we have that opportunity, can you just say the name of your organization and what it is you do? That's all, not a long story. That's all you need to do with it, so that the others can also then know which organizations are in the room. So I'm going to now allow some people who have their hands up to comment. This gentleman had his hand up first and then
History proves us that whatever happened in Atlantis do not benefit the local people. I mean, there's now a green project here that just started last year or something, and 99% of the people is imported from outside Atlantis. So if we participate in this and give our support, what guarantee do we have that people of Atlantis will have first privilege in any job creation that's taking place here? Because I mean, it's a proven history that any companies is coming to Atlantis or businesses, they bring their own crowd of people. It's not that there's no expertise in Atlantis. I believe a lot of programs that is in Atlantis is because of the expertise, expert people in Atlantis. But they will always see over there and not be included into the final project, project.
I understand completely what you said. Anyone else that does answer that? Yes.
Yeah. My question is just to confirm the boundaries of the ACZ. I do understand it is just going to be the industrial, Atlantis industrial area. And the second one on that is, with the boundaries, only the industrial areas, how will business people in the Atlantis community benefit from? Because I do understand that the benefits, incentives, is only to the zone areas.
Okay, that's fine.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Andres. My surname is Walifant. I'd just like to know, where is the community, traditional community?
What is that?
Traditional community.
Yeah.
Because I hear you only talk about community, but not traditional. Because I'm from the Greekawal house, and that's why I asked this question.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, my name is Crawford. I'm from Uppington.
Can we just stand up?
My name is Crawford. I'm from Uppington. I present also Community Development Forum. So we realize also there's some synergies between what we are doing currently in Uppington and what's happening in Atlantis. And the reason we make all the way down here is because we wanted to make sure that the communities in Atlantis doesn't take the same route and the mistakes been made by this green ships been putting up in Uppington. There's about like 5 to 7 big renewable plants being set up, and the communities, the local artisans, skills developers, there's no skill program being cut and paste for the communities to benefit into. But from an entrepreneurial point of view, I wanted to add some value to the communities, and hence we work with Victor and the forum here. There's some low-hangings currently sitting in terms of projects within DOE and Department of Energy, which the community can immediately benefit from. And I think also it's important, a word of advice for the Green Cape, to get all the local municipalities involved. Because while these projects are being issued, they're sitting with the municipalities, but sometimes because of ignorance of a lack of information, it doesn't know. So I wanted maybe from the side of the forums to be the trendsetters in getting these projects. For instance, the solar hot water is a program. It's a program being identified by government with some grants, 13,500 which the communities can get into. There's some solar home systems sitting with government, 13,400 being granted for informal settlement, take them off grid. And then there's the whole issue of innovation in terms of product suppliers and how the whole spectrum, and there's a lot of opportunities currently which are there yet, which the community can immediately benefit. And we are here, we were able to share some information whatsoever and where these funds are sitting. So many times I think it's also good for whosoever lead the process to admit he doesn't know anything about what's currently happening on the ground. So that's just a word of advice.
Thank you very much for that. On this side, we'll come at the back now. Yeah, come to okay, this is the last speaker on the point and then please.
Okay, actually on the designation application process. I've concerned some investors from overseas that would want to come into green economic hub, but the definition of green technology in its specification in South Africa is not accepted, and it's not SEBS in terms of what is deemed, because within a special economic zone application, the international standard is to say, look, in terms of ISO, XO, so we will operate and the business must come in. Now, that is one of our concerns as the Atlantis Impact Economic Investment Development Forum, that some of the investors which we've approached have asked us, give us the designation specifications, and that is not available currently to the community. So we would want to know certain critical information that will go in the application process and also help the community. How can we access those critical information? Because in our previous engagement we talked about information sharing. And at this moment, there's about 10 other countries also opening in these 5 to 7 acre special economic zones all along the west coast of Africa. And if we look around the east coast of Africa, there's another 4 coming in, and each of one of those special economic zones designation and specification is widely available. Now, in terms of that, the specifications and designation, also what is the threshold of investment? See, when you talk about economic zones, you have a threshold investment where you say, look, you can only come in with so much. But now, if you don't have the threshold, I can come in with 100 rand and open up a tax shop and say, look, I'm going to be selling organic food, and which falls also within the green economy. You know, so that is my 2 points.
Before you answer, can I just, because I want to make sure that we've captured the questions correctly. Part of what you're saying, it's also related to 2 important points. The one is the geographic identification of the zone, but you are also saying that within the geographic demarcation, the definition of green technology. So the framework, so it's an identified geographic framework, and then it's a geographic concept or idea framework as to what.
It's a technical specification.
Yes, so what is, I understand what you're saying. So what is the definition of green technology and what falls within that broad definition? And then what are the limits to investment opportunities in terms of amounts of money that can be put in by investors? So that's the one. Then there are two other points which also bear relationship. The one is that around the notion of community. I think community, it means community. If you exclude yourself from community, then that's your problem. But community means everyone.
Yes.
No one is excluded. Everyone is included in community. So if you regard yourself as part of the community, then you're part of this process. So that answers the question about who's included. This is an inclusive process for everyone. So no one is excluded. But if you choose to step out and say, no, I don't want to be part, then that's your choice. But the most important point is the opportunity that's presented to everyone. Then the question of the issue of history in communities, and our communities have been given all the nice stories, and afterwards, dan is het een andere story. The nice stories mean actually for a couple of ones that are very powerful, very connected, they're the ones who get everything. And you raise a very important question. That is true. That is the history of how communities get screwed over. The question then is, how well organized are you? How united are you as a community to make sure that doesn't happen? It only happens when you are divided, and it happens when you are weak. And Nicholas, Cornelius, okay, has raised a very important point, and actually it's a challenge to the community. He's putting a very important question to you. Become united so that you can be strong enough to prevent what has happened in the past. And that's a very, very important point he has raised. So the leaders must now recognize that they have a bigger responsibility to learn the lessons of the past and to make sure this thing doesn't happen again. And then our friend who's come from Upington has raised very, very important points. There are certain things that he's been able to identify in terms of what has happened in Upington. And out of that is to learn the lessons of what to avoid, but also to look at the opportunities that exist. And he talks about opportunities, the low-lying fruits. What can you get first? What are the things you can get first? So it's part of the conversation of identifying some of the opportunities through different projects that we can actually then deal with. So thank you very much for everyone's really, really wonderful ideas and contributions. I'll hand over now to Tabo.
Companies do business tend to overlook the local population. It's a reality that I must acknowledge. But I must say, one good example, without disputing what you said, GRI colleagues, comrades and colleagues, it did involve quite a number of local people. The supporting office you see outside of Atlantis was built by one local woman in Atlantis, and the one being told by GRI. The paving the Atlantis building there was done by local people. But the only challenge we have in that building when you engage here is that the highly technical welding skills which is required to weld those towers there was not available locally. So what they did as part of management is that they've shipped in quite 1, 2, 3 few people who are highly knowledgeable to part skills within the local people who are working in GRI there. Because that skill is not available in South Africa. We're struggling to get high-level welders. There's a company somewhere in Pucha, I don't want to mention my name, which do this kind of work. They've been struggling for years with this kind of skills, with high-level arc welding, which there are very short, limited skills available locally, not even Atlantis. So what these guys did, they also provided in-house training, because we do engage GRI quite a lot. But I cannot sit here, stand here and speak on behalf of GRI, but I'm speaking from the engagement we had with GRI. I must acknowledge what you're saying, that there are challenges. But large part of the work, the company who do the work there in GRI was a local company coming from Saldana, that's local. Some of the guys who do the work in Atlantis, they come from local here, because the capacity of the company is about 300 workers, about 200 workers minimum at this time. And some of those guys were local guys in Atlantis. But in terms of SME development, it might not be this pronounced, but there have been 1 or 2 guys who have been utilized that can tell those outside buildings are built by somebody locally here through the support and help of GRI. But there are challenges. It's one thing that my counterpart we need to take into account, because DTI has cautioned us so many times, including Thursday and Friday last week, to say, guys, we do not want to see the same thing which has happened in Northern Cape, where we had guys from overseas who came to do the work that they left and there's nothing happening. We are aware of that. And thank you for reminding us. It's one issue that we must also, I would be over to colleagues, forgive me. It's one area which we must try and look into. The other issue is that if you look at the kind of skills required, DTI say to us that set up a dedicated skills intervention program, which Ashla senior skills practitioner is going to be running, because we want to make sure that we train the people around here, work with the FET college to have tailor-made kind of skill intervention. That will take us a bit of a while. It cannot happen overnight. We're trying to work with Saratech, to work with Sareb here, to incubate skills. We have a couple of companies that are located here as part of that incubation support for SMME. But we need to have dedicated and conscious move as we go forward. Say, this is what this project must do. We acknowledge that, so that we don't repeat the mistakes we've made in the past. On one hand, the incentives that we have for SZ, there are restrictions, honestly. Victor, I'm responding to your question. In terms of the incentives and the value of investment, you can only qualify for some of those investments if your investment, if for certain value, I can speak from the head now, if for certain value, I know there's 100,000 sort of things going forward. It depends how much investment you're making through to qualify for those benefits. They're not meant for everyone. So it's only some of the biggest investment you will make based on rents and cents. So it's not to say every small company will qualify for those incentives, because they've been set with limit for a reason by now. We have no control over those. They are SARS and Treasury Department nationally, who are the custodian of those incentives. So we have no control over those. So they've set the bar. But I'm going to email through to you those incentives. Even the national industry incentives, they also have got limits. How much can you qualify for based on investment value for rent for rent? But I must also acknowledge that if you look at the boundaries of the SZ itself, is the industrial area, which is fine. But the benefits and the long-term plan is the socio-economic aspect of the SZ, which must take into account the need to provide houses, the need to provide connectivity infrastructure. What we ask now from DTI, we ask by DTI to provide what we call an infrastructure matrix, which is a document which takes into account to say, this SZ to happen, what type of facilities requires. We do need houses in Atlantis. That one is going to be shortage in the next coming couple of years. We're going to need to house the senior managers, we need to house staff coming from outside Atlantis, those guys come from Atlantis as well, and those guys from Atlantis here. So that the need for skills moving in between is going to happen anyway, because there might be skills you're not ready to provide with us in Atlantis. We must have dedicated intervention. Asha will do that, the team will do that. The new company to be set up, part of its program, one is compulsory skills development is compulsory. The whole issue of community engagement is a must-have. DTI ask about that every now and then to meet them. Who guys are you talking to in Atlantis? You must get everybody's buy-in. That's very critical for the whole program to succeed. So there's no way you can overlook that aspect of it. But I must say that we'll have tailor-made SME intervention program, we'll have tailor-made skills development intervention, which we're going to hit as a team. So that's going to happen. But I cannot defend the fact that if we don't do it well, we will not succeed. This thing won't fly. It's just going to become one white elephant. No benefit for local community. But that advice we take it, Dr. Cape, we'll have to have those things as we move forward. So we learn from lessons. Because the good thing is that this SZ cannot afford to fail, colleagues. We have learned so much from Kucha, which is, I mean, the guys have been there for years. We have learned so much from East London. We have learned so much from OR Tambo challenges. We have learned so much from all others that we have in the country. So what has gone wrong there? But we need advice from everybody. So that's why we've engaged each and every SZ and ITZ. We've gone to ITZ, we've gone to visit. We learn from them. So guys, what have you guys done right for the community engagement? What you guys have done right for skills intervention? What you guys have done right for SM development? So we rely on advice from other SZ. We do go to KZN, we do go to East London, we do go to Kucha to engage them and learn from them. So we don't make the same mistakes that the guys have made over the years. I'm going to have answered all your questions, but if you see that engagement is a part of the meeting, we'll do it for the sake of time as well. Can I hand over to my senior exec to respond to the community engagement?
I'm going to take 5 minutes. I first of all neglected to apologize on behalf of Mike. Mike's the other our other colleague, but Mike also sits with me on Sarebi's board, and unfortunately we've had to divide our attention today, so he's actually involved in a strategic session on that side. So you will see him, I'm hoping that he will pop in. If somebody asks me, I think Tabu's done a great job of answering your questions. I'm not going to reiterate that. I think in terms of the definition, in our conversations with DTI, we have tried to go for the broadest definition of green economy. We chose specifically not to do renewable energy because renewable energy was going to hem us in desperately. Green economy means that any activities upstream and downstream can also be part of this green economy. You can have a manufacturing plant, but if you've got innovative ways that bring down your carbon footprint, etc., you are part of the green economy. So we really try to keep our definition as wide as possible, Victor. I think the one thing that I do want to say is Ursula is here to do a program that takes care specifically of skills interventions, and we're looking at trying to deal with skills issues strategically. One of the things we are trying to do is starting to speak to the college down the road here that has administration as their focus, to change that focus to artisan focus, welding, engineering, those types of focuses. But what do you as parents do? As parents, you must be encouraging other parents and your children to do maths and science. Because unfortunately, you have to have a fundamental and basic knowledge of maths and science to be an artisan. So that's the encouragement we must be giving here, is when we see the children want to drop out of maths and science, say no, there's a special economic zone that's planning to be designated. They're going to need artisans, they're going to need bricklayers. So we need to, and the second thing we need to do is get our senior artisans who are in retirement at this point in time to start mentoring these youngsters. Make yourself available to mentor them so that they become the artisans you can be proud of. So those are the practical things we can be doing as a community to encourage our kids to really be part of the space, because this is not something that's going to go away in 5 years. It's going to be, we are hoping that this will be around for a very long time, so get our kids involved. I'm now going to hand over to Brian because I'm concerned about time.
Yeah, okay. Thanks very much. Thank you very much, all of you, for your positive questions. Can we accept that? Can we accept the principle that it's important that? Sorry, sir.
No, I just want to ask a question also after you finish.
No. Ask your question now so we can settle this issue. Because we're moving to the next part of the. Okay. We have a question.
I'm quite well aware that DTI knows what companies is coming into South Africa 3 years before the time because of their applications. And by that, the DTI can transfer that knowledge to a skills development company in the area that can develop and skill our youngsters beforehand. And they don't have to come from Poland, they have to come from Moldavia and places like that to come and work here.
Okay.
But we have specialized, trained personnel here to occupy the positions.
Yes, thank you.
And I think that is very necessary. Now the other thing I wanted to ask was this. Swept my mind. But let's stick with that one first.
Okay, thank you.
Until I come back to that one.
Yes,
Guys, we're going to have to really not stop here. We can't go on to this is the council, the last person. We're not going to go into a discussion about this now, beyond the councillor.
Yes, this point is coming up regular in conversation with the business people, that our kids don't have maths and science. So I think we had to go back to our secondary schools or whatever, from the primary schools to make a point that is the lack.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Both points are very, very valuable and advice to what it is that we need to do. So the DTI gets the advice that as soon as they have information which is specifically important to Atlantis, they must activate, pass that information through. Ursula, from a skills development point of view, can then start the programming. And the council has indicated also that maybe there must be direct engagement now with the high school, and perhaps the council will take responsibility directly with that, in partnership with GreenCape, to also make a point of speaking to the high schools about encouraging maths and science. Okay, we in the next part of the program where we're going to be dealing with the issues of getting some of the organizations just to briefly introduce themselves, say who they are, what they're about, and each one will just have about a minute to do so. So we can just know who's in the room basically. But can we accept that the principle that Atlantis must be given special status as an economic zone is accepted. Can we agree that that is so?
Yes.
Colleagues, can you just put up your hands, please, so we can all see your hands? If we can, everyone just put up their hands, please. So we can accept that it's unanimous. Anyone opposed to the idea that a special zone be established? Okay, no one. So let's accept that the community has agreed to the principle of the special economic zone. Now we're going to ask the different organizations here. Can those from the different organizations just stand up and say the name of the organization and what it is the organization does? That's all. Because so that people in the room can at least know who's here. Okay, so we'll just do that briefly. We can start from any side of the room. Start on my right hand side. Let's start on my right. Yeah, he's saying that you must start there. Okay. The man in red, not the woman in red. Just say which organization from and briefly what they do. Everyone will have about a minute.
My name is Victor Snyders. I represent Atlantis Impact Economic Investment Development Forum, a lobbying group for economic policies for the benefits the community of Atlantis and SMEs are mostly the indigenous descendants of the Khoisan San.
Thank you. Next organization? Anyone? It must be a different organization. If you're from the same organization, then don't repeat. It must be a different organization, yes?
Good morning, I'm Alan Bucas. I'm from World Vision, South Africa. We have an office here in Atlantis. We have a special focus on the development of children and families and communities as such. So we work in schools and we are busy with education and various other projects as well.
Thank you. Now, next organization?
I am Cornelius Scott from the Small Farmers Association. We the small farmers help them and also create vehicles for them for skills development in farming. And we also help them with land reform and land restitution and land reform. Thank you.
Viva, that way.
Yeah.
I'm Michelle Fuktayan from Extreme Youth, inspiring, motivating, and developing the youth of Atlantis.
Môre, mijn naam is Stijn September. Ik vertegenwoordig Atlantis Rugby voetbalclub. Ons is de enigste en oudste sportschool in het dorp. Ons hoofdoel is natuurlijk om die sport op het gebied van rugby te bevorderen in de administratuur. Dank u.
Goedemorgen, ik is Maggie Vast van Atlantis Dream Team. Ons is 14 jaar op Atlantis, gekozen voor de gemeenschap. Voor alle soorten ziekten, mensen met ziektes, HIV positief, kinderen wat lijden aan ziekte en schoolkinderen wat aan school komen, geven ons kost. Zo ons is nu al 14 jaar in Atlantis.
Goedemorgen, ik is Sofia Jan. Ik is van Rural Development Program for Women Tranka. Ons is een groep van vrouwen om vrouwen te equiperen, te sterk om zelf te de Rural Development.
Goedemorgen, ik is Cornelia Koek. Ik is een Griekwa vrouw, ik vertegenwoordig een Griekwa vrouw. Ons vrouw, ons mensen is baie gedrukt. En onze visie is om als vrouwen om kos op de tafel te zetten, ons te komen begin.
Today everybody, I'm Ronald Brock from the Farm Source Development Local Office. Basically what we focus on children and family and community development, like partnership and development, NPO registration, disaster and social relief.
I'm Crawford Joe from Uppington. working in collaboration with the Vaal University of Technology as our partner, strategic partner for skills development, eradication of poverty, innovation and technology, building new industries, industry development, community development programs with schools and kids. Thank you so much.
I am Simon Lowe, also from Uppington, and I am involved with the Zeta Hotel Community Development Forum, and in conjunction with the Vaal University of Technology with Mr. Martin Lodz. My aim in the forum is the director on agriculture. And by myself, also my own company, is that I'm making herbal remedies for high blood sugar, cancer, whatever. And I am in the process now with the assistance of Mr. Lodz to accomplish my business. Thank you.
Good morning again, my name is Atlantis, my surname is Olifant. I'm a commissioner in the Great Royal House under the auspices of the Adam Cook V, King Adam Cook V. I'm also in Atlantis and also busy with trying to reverse our culture. And between, we also have a fully structure in Atlantis. So that is that.
I just want to say that in both wards, Ward 29 and Ward 32, we have ward committees, and there's also sectors presenting businesses. So you had to invite them as well to this type of meetings. Thank you.
Good morning, Martinus Fredericks. I'm actually wearing two caps. One is I am the chairperson for the Atlantis Council of Stakeholders, Ward 29. And part of the responsibility is for the Council of Stakeholders to engage provincial, national and local government, and then focusing on projects related to social, economic and infrastructure development. So that's the one cap. And I'm also with the West Coast Environmental Cooperative. We exist for about 14 years now, and probably have been very instrumental in developing what we call a turnaround strategy for Atlantis. And in the turnaround strategy, already in 2010, we envisaged changing Atlantis from a textile industry into a renewable hub. And I'm glad to see that it really panned out. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Joel Castor. I'm from the Christian Dependency Movement. We are working with people in substance abuse, rehabilitating area. We have prevention programs in terms of substance abuse with the youth and people who are coming out of places where they was rehabilitated. And we are working with various organizations like World Vision in terms of education or educating the community around substance abuse. And I urge every businessman inside your organization to work with us, because if we set up all these businesses, we need sober people to do the production, and it will be good for our economy in the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Good morning everyone. My name is David October. I'm the owner of iSolar. We just recently moved into Atlantis in the incubator. We are manufacturing solar water heaters for low-cost housing and high-pressure geysers for the gap market housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for introducing yourself and also giving us an idea of what it is you do. Again, going back to the invitation that everyone received, the important point about the conversation and the consultation is that we identify 3 critical projects that we could put forward as recommendations to GreenCape, and so that they, together with DTI, could come up with a proposal based on the consultation process. But remember, as Viola explained how the process works, the provincial government also have a team, and together with national and the city, of course, and the 3 tiers of government, there will be also other conversations with regard to the discussions that are taking place now. So there are two ways we can do this. The one is that we continue to sit the way we are, or we can split into two groups, have discussions in those two groups, and then give feedback to the broader group. So I just want to be guided by you. What would be okay to do? Set us up with the two groups, have a conversation in the two groups, and then out of that we give feedback to the larger group. Would that be okay to do that?
Yes.
By me intermittent? Okay. So there's this one group can stay, this group on this side can stay here, and that group on this side, there's another room, a breakaway room where you'll be sitting. You have about half an hour. We'll just check up to see how far you are in half an hour's time, and then if you need more time to have a conversation, and then we will then give you that opportunity. Yes.
I just make one comment. I know that the temptation is going to be to come up with ideas that may take care of part of the community that you represent, and that's fine. But what we really are looking for is the projects that we can hand over to the special economic zone team. So it's not going to help us really, and I'm scared to give an example because I don't look down it, but it's difficult for us to say, you know what, we want to do pottery or flowers. You know, we're looking for ideas that are going to have a greater economic impact than that. So we're looking at, or greater community benefit than that. So we're looking for those ideas, and I don't want you to be scared to bring forward the ideas you have, but I think it's got to be ideas that are going to be inclusive of most of the community, and secondly, an idea that's going to stimulate economic impact that can be sustained. So if you can keep that in the back of your mind when we put forward ideas, then it's going to help us make sure that we really, when we come to conclusion on the top 3 ideas, that they're really going to be great ideas that we can start pumping resources towards and pumping. And when we hand over, we can really say to that team, you know what, these are ideas you really must try and implement. So you know, just let's try and think of the greater good here.
So that's very important. That frames the discussion again, based also on what Thabo had said earlier. So if you go into groups, can one person act as the facilitator? You choose your facilitator. Someone will write down what was decided in the group and then give feedback. That be okay?
Yes.
Okay. And also Viola and Michael and others, we will be going into to listen to the conversations in the different groups, and also when necessary you'll be able to call upon Thabo or anyone else to give clarity to you. So remember, the idea is to come up with an idea which will create the maximum value and benefit to the community. So this group, maybe group on the right can stay here, and the group on the left, so Michael is just
Almarie will take them to the breakaway.
Thank you very much. So in about 20 minutes time, we'll just check to see how far we are. We are now in the section of the discussion where we will get some feedback from the group, and for the purposes of accuracy, we're also going to ask the person to come and stand in front who's giving the feedback, in part because we want it's also being video recorded, and so we'd like that person also to appear on the video who's giving the feedback. So can we ask the group that was in the room to give their feedback first? And can the person introduce his name and then and then also, can everyone just listen very carefully to the feedback?
Our group has come up with three ideas, possible initiatives. The first one we said is the solar geyser installation company or business. And with that solar geyser installation company, the conditions, there must be clear-cut conditions that is going to be set down for that business in terms of up to a 10% reinvestment into CSI, community social investment projects where they can reinvest back into the community. And some of our inputs was that there's a percentage at DTI and the Special Economic Zone having that money, so those must be some of the conditions that is being put down, and many of the stuff needs to be triple B conditions and codes attached to that. The second one, we said we need a focused and yet participatory entrepreneurial, scholar, capacity building skills intervention that needs to start at school level, not at FET level, so that our children can be groomed from school already to fill in these gaps and possible opportunities in this kind of business that is arising and we're looking into the future. So the intervention must start at school so that the demand of these skills being needed, and even to look at the community development perspective so that the people can be sourced locally from the community and maximum community benefit at the end of the day, and that businesses don't come from outside and pocket the big money and our community and members are left with the chains. And lastly, we said we are looking for a joint venture with a manufacturer of deep cell batteries, which includes panels and even the lighting or the bulbs that goes along with that. That is to minimize the electricity usage and to get us off the grid, Mr. Cook. Right? So, but this venture needs to be done with either the company with the skills, but it must be joined with either a local business. If not, there is not a local business within the confines of the SEZ, then only, that's a condition that came from my group, then only an outside business must be sourced. But we are looking at maximum collaboration between either business entities, but also from the community side. So that's from my group. Thank you.
Anyone in the group? Sorry, wait. Just, anyone in the group would like to add, to perhaps strengthen or clarify?
Thanks. Just for clarity's sake on the last point, the idea was to look if no current company exists to form a cooperative of sorts or a collaborative agreement, then we'll have to look at finding companies or individuals that would like to do that with a bigger company. So the idea is to keep to empower locally as opposed to want to get another company from elsewhere. And then one of the other initiatives in terms of the entrepreneurial development concept is that we work in collaboration with the likes of World Vision, my organization, Extreme Youth and the likes. There's a whole lot of local youth development organizations that could partner in terms of setting this thing up where we, as the councillor said earlier on, we need to engage with the principals in the schools, and we can do that. We've already done a fair amount, albeit minimal, with some of the principals, and they're keen to the idea. All it means that it mustn't become their problem or their challenge. It needs to be done and managed and run by a local company or a local group of companies that, or an NGO for that matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, also some clarity on the first point is that in terms of the investment, the percentage should be a condition. That in terms of the percentage should be reinvested, whereby solar panel manufacturing is in hands for either PV solar power generation, and like it couples also into the second idea where the taking of people off the grid, and all the percentage of funds must be allocated and clearly put to future investors and current investors, that should be put into either an entity that will distribute it, but more importantly, it must be done according to the BBB Act.
Thank you very much. Thank you to this group. Can we please give them a big round of applause? Can we have the next group coming forward, please?
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My task is actually going to be a very nice task. I'm just going to introduce the speakers. We just want to do something, just make some clarity quickly in terms of how we felt as a group. I said we said that we're not going to call it projects, because projects has got to start and it's got to end. So we want to have something that's continuous. So we identified 4 different interventions, which my colleagues is going to speak about. The one is going to be the capacity training, which is going to be, Mrs. Jordan is going to speak about that. Then the next one will be a business development center, which will be spoken, which Mr. Fredericks will speak about. And then we've got 2 others, the planting of organic foods, which Mr. Lowe will speak about. And then also the solar heating projects, which you guys also spoke about, but we've got Mr. October to speak about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Our group, or the one I was working with, have nominated me to kind of deliver what the decisions have been around the capacity building, because the lack of technical skills has been identified as an obstacle and a challenge many a times. It's actually I find it from the perspective I'm coming from, very encouraging to see that your group has prioritized it along exactly the same levels. And for me, very encouraging is that the focus is always also on not just looking at fixing the problem at FET level, and actually looking at a more sustainable solution. So looking at targeted interventions starting earlier, high school level, looking also at maybe before that. I mean, as I mentioned to the group, this is in line with the provincial kind of mandate as well. Last week, Monday, I attended the Skills Game Changer, where they've also identified artisans and development along the artisanal stream to be so important. And I mean, all of these things talk directly to the projects that are happening or going to be happening in Atlantis, Saldanha, and I mean nationally even. So to kind of targeted look at these skills development interventions. I mean, some of them will have to be addressing systemic problems, and those will take a longer time to obviously show the fruits of our labor. But in the interim, I see myself engaging with organizations such as World Vision, Extreme Youth, and the likes of the local community organizations to look at how can we develop bridging interventions to equip the guys on the ground now to also be ready to be absorbed in employment within the coming opportunities and in the green tech opportunities that will be arriving in Ethiopia.
I'll briefly be talking about the Business Development Center. That has been identified by the group as one of the key areas, how to start developing our small, medium and micro enterprises to make sure that they are developed to such an extent that they can provide the quality of service and products required by some of your bigger companies. One of the issues also raised is the issue of space for small business, to affordable space for small business to start their business so that they can produce products for bigger companies. That's a bit of a problem. Then the other one is around the fact that there's no common point in the Atlantis where big business who wants to use auxiliary service or supporting service from other smallers, where they can come together and get access to a database of people that provide that kind of service. So therefore the idea of developing a business development center would be one of the projects that we would like to propose.
Thank you. Next, organic food.
When we get up in the morning, we do have breakfast, we do have tea. Lunchtime, we eat some fatty stuff like fish and chips. Tonight, we eat a nice pot of pap and fatty meat. And what happens? You get your knees, you get your stomach resting on your knees. But the food stuff we eat today compared to 60, 80 years back, then you'll find a vast difference. Because the food that we eat today, we buy in the shopping centers is GMO, genetic modified foods. And that is a killer. Believe me, that is a killer. Because I've studied a lot of things concerning these matters and things like that, and who controls it. Wow. It is firstly to depopulate the earth. That's why you see we have sugar diabetes, we've got high blood pressure, cancer, and all these things. Now, why I am on organic foods is because it is food that is produced without chemicals that destroys his body. And these chemicals, they changes our DNA. And when you have children tomorrow, your children grows with defects because of these chemicals in your body. So therefore, we've got to look at our health in the first place. You as a father and mother, because you've got to raise children. Now you must learn to raise your children on good, healthy food that won't make them sick when they grow up, because you're going to die. Now, how do we start the second economy if we don't start with that now? We've got to start that to make way and set a stage there for our progeny. And by doing that, we should start to learn and find out what is the best things to eat, not to become a young elephant or stomach resting on the knees, but keep them healthy. Is the best thing if we have food gardens. But I would suggest, say a cooperative start up here in Atlantis, and look at areas where these foods can be grown. And for the growing of foods, then we look at some of the herbal stuff that you can just plant and eat in between. Like for instance, you eat a sami with a salad, piece of cheese, and then use a herb also that's not that butter like my medicine. That helps your system. Because you need to eat food that helps to detox your liver. You need to eat foods that detox your liver. And that will help your sewage system, your kidneys, to drain all the bad substances in your system. Now, if you go organic, we will eliminate all those problems. You understand? And then we can have healthy food that grows us but don't make us fat. And then you can live longer, like my grandma used to live up to 105, because eating out of the garden. And not this chickens that we eat today that comes from Brazil. If you cook it, there's no blood.
Comes from water.
Yeah, and we've got to look at where's the gentleman that's on agriculture. We have to look at setting up a battery of chicken pens or whatever you call it, to raise chickens. And then we do justice to that and supply that amongst our people. There is a vast market for that. Some people don't, they don't look much at what you call it, a konijnen. Who has ever ate a rabbit? Cooked from the bone. And it's a nice treat. No, many people don't know about it. Soft meat. And that's very nutritional. Instead of eating these cows, that has been injected with this, what you call this stuff that makes them big quick? Now all these hormones is a detriment to your life. And many people don't realize it. Like we say in the Kalahari, Upington area, we haven't got much of that because the goats that we eat roams the veld without all these things. And that is to become health conscious. Sister, you don't want to walk like an elephant, do you? Thank you.
This really for me to come to Atlantis at my age. I've been involved in Atlantis in the 1980s. I was one of the shareholders of Silverstream Hotel. And those years the national government gave colored people money to open liquor stores. In the good old days. Yes. Now I'm back in Atlantis and I'm here with a business to uplift the community. Social upliftment, like providing hot water. And we've got another product besides manufacturing the solar geyser. We've got another product as where we sell home light systems for load shedding. I sold about 1,500 of those units to the Cape Winelands municipality for farm laborers' houses. So everything is here. The job opportunities we're going to create in Atlantis. If the mass rollout comes, is announced within the next 2 or 3 months, I will have job opportunities for more than 100 people coming from the community, being trained in the facilities to manufacture the solar water heating program, we only got about 4 manufacturers in the country. We are the only BE company that's manufacturing geysers, which is 100% local content, SBS approved. So the opportunities for the community to be involved in this project is great, and it will definitely provide much needed jobs for the unemployed in Atlantis, in the manufacturing field and also in the installation field. Thank you.
Okay, so we've heard from both groups some really excellent ideas. I want to just ask if Viola or anyone from the GreenCape team would also like to add some ideas that have also come through in terms of projects. So we could also then put that in the pot and then that can be part of our conversation.
We have actually forwarded 3 or toyed around the 3 ideas. I think we did share with Martinez and some of the others when we've had meetings with this whole idea of a one-stop shop business hub, business support center, and what we and I think it's a good thing that I see so many people have almost alluded to or contributed to what that will look like. For us, we have to understand that the bulk of that infrastructure and focus will be on renewable energy, either upstream or downstream, or some contribution to the renewable energy space, but I don't think that should stop us from having spaces available for us to have that database of businesses that we were talking about, to actually house that database of businesses here. But the one thing that I want to say is, in our experience, for example, now just having the special economic zone here, there are certain opportunities for small businesses in Atlantis to grow. So we, for example, have had catering requirements where the person comes and they bring us really bad quality food. And they've overpriced themselves because we have made a commitment to use local businesses first. We've had a situation where the businesses don't have an email address and they still want you to fax. No, man. No. Yeah, so those types of things, we've got a request now. After that Cerebi board meeting, there's no hardware store in Atlantis. Yet we are doing renovations in this building. Where? Okay, so I need those 3 addresses because in that meeting over there now, the people from Atlantis in that meeting have said to us there's no hardware store. Okay, so that's my point. How do we make sure there's this database of businesses? Right? So that's but more importantly, how do we make sure that that guy who owns the hardware store is ready for the influx of orders he's going to get? Has it got the technology systems to actually run online orders? So those are the kinds of things that we need to speak about. So I think the one-stop shop business support center is a very important one, but also for compliance. So having SARS in this building, having SIPC in the building, having CEDA in the building, and so on. So I think that's the one idea. The second idea that we've been toying around with, because we've got a lot of businesses coming to us, investors coming to us and saying, Paola, we have got compliance issues around the tenders or the applications we've made commitments to the communities. And we are being approached all the time by specific sectors of the community to put money in there, but we know that those people don't have good governance, they don't have good bank accounts. We want to pump it into a space where we know that the majority, that it's inclusive for everybody. So the one area that we're talking about is a park in the center town that actually reflects that this community is a renewable energy space. So I don't know if any of you have been to the area where BlackBerry comes from. It's called the REM, Research in Motion. REM, they out there. When you go to that place, you see blackberries. You know, these 5-meter blackberries in concrete everywhere you go in that town, because that is the home of blackberries. When you go and drink tea by the auntie, she'll tell you, do you know what we're famous for? And she'll tell you the whole history of how how Research in Motion started. Now that's the kind of thing. This community must say, we own the green economy. We own the green economy space. So how do we create, now those towers are made out of steel. How do we create a concrete tower that children can play on that actually reflects for them the true size of, because it's hundreds of meters that thing. How do we have the blades that kids can play on, and a park where people can, where the older people can go and play rummy, they can go play chess, it's a safe space for them. But it reflects the green economy. And so people are engaging with the green economy. So even those electricity meters, if we can have a 5-meter by 3-meter electricity meter where kids can go and play. That's what we're looking for. That's the second thing we've been talking about. And that is going to require great infrastructure. But if we have got companies like Enel, the greatest energy supplier in Europe, wanting to invest here, we can say to them, give us a few of your euros and we're going to build a park. So those are the kinds of things that everybody gets to benefit from. The third idea that we were playing with, and this is an idea that the SEZ team is talking about, is to go into the schools and run a competition around the green economy. And one thing we'd like to do is appeal to as many children as we can. So the first thing we want to look at is an innovative technology component where they can come up with new technology or innovation. They may come up with a green desk or something like that. But the other thing that we're looking for is the artists, for them to start drawing pictures and paintings. And we would like to take those paintings and make it part of the exhibition stands. These international exhibitions that we go to and these international places that we speak at, is to actually have copies of their paintings on easels on the stage when you speak. And so taking the community of Atlantis with us on these international trips and so on, but also in these buildings. When these big investors come in, when they walk down the passages, they must see paintings done by kids from Atlantis. The third component of that is that we're looking to appeal to those literary orphans, the people who write beautiful poems, write beautiful stories. Actually get the children to write poems about Atlantis and poems and stories about the community and how they grew up. Even older people, the older ladies in the community have stories to tell. They've got little remedies, they've got things. Creating a book that can be published, and we can then ask these big corporates to use that book as a corporate gift. We spend a lot of money on flasks and pins and nonsense. If we can create a booklet like that they give to at every corporate function, we can start talking about Atlantis a lot more. So those are 3 of the ideas that we have also contributed to the, so they could say, so, because those are the kind of ideas I think that allows everybody to be included and for everybody to benefit. I think that's been our idea. We get approached by lots of people to say to us, yeah, but they can bring their CSI budget, we want to do something on the side here, but it's a few people that benefit from that. We're looking for the general kind of ideas.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, even though the idea was that we should come up with 3 ideas, I think that we should put all the ideas and put all the ideas to the team. And then when because they will now start the conversation and an engagement. And if there's more information needed to explain the idea, because only when they accept a particular idea, then you can know this is the idea. Now we need to put flesh to it. Now we need to put more ideas to it. Now we need to get more information and generate a plan that can give us a direction as to where this thing will go, with all the kind of things that we want to see happening in terms of the policies of what is preferred in terms of its procurement processes, what is required in terms of its skills development program, and what is needed in terms of investment and opportunities with respect to wealth creation and job creation in particular. So, will it be acceptable if we accept all the projects and we put them all to go forward? Colleagues? Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Can you put your hand up, please? Thank you very much. Yes, you have.
Sorry, my question is just, I've been involved in Atlantis for the last 10 years or so in developing projects and stuff, raising project ideas. But at the end, when the projects are implemented, a lot of the community parts, including myself, states separate.
Yeah.
We don't directly. So we also need to talk probably about who becomes the owners of the project that is identified, so that you don't end up. I've seen about 150 books developed about projects over the last 10 years about Atlantis. And some of those ideas identified is being implemented, but the originators of those ideas are nowhere part of it. So there's maybe some discussion.
I think you're absolutely right, because
Yes,
the next part of the
yes.
conversation is about the question of the ownership and the direction. Because what is the next stage? The next stage, and I know there was a conversation also here about how do we now monitor and how do we evaluate whatever is agreed to, and how do we ensure that the community's voice is truly reflected throughout this process. So we're going to ask both perhaps Tabo and perhaps Viola to just come forward and explain to us, now that we've made this decision, we've put these projects forward, these ideas, what is the next step in practical terms, and when will there be feedback to the community, and when will there be ongoing feedback as the progress is made with regard to this project? Councillor?
Yes, I'm very excited about this. What I wanted to say, the community is always complaining about unemployment. This is the only things, and sustainability. Who will come to the ward meetings if we invite you to say what is currently happening now in this progress, in this process? We're busy and we engage with all businesses and stuff like that. Then the other thing I'm very disturbed about the person that's saying there is no hardware shops. So I'm thinking about re-look at all the current business in Atlantis. Put it in our data and update their information, whatever. Because some of those don't have an email, as you're saying. Let them come to a certain place to say, here you must address all your business details. Then it will, when we can take it forward.
Before we come, this is the last one, and then we're going to just go back to just to make a very good comment on that. The one good thing is very, very important, because we're speaking about feedback.
Yeah.
So let us accept the responsibilities on every organization. So, for example, you say if your ward committee of a whole lot of people from different sectors, you're having a meeting, then you will invite somebody to come and say, just give us an update. And it may well be that could also be a consideration from the team, because but I don't think they'll be able to do respond to 100 different organizations' invitations. There has to be some perhaps coordinated way, but it doesn't exclude the option also of giving to a wide stakeholder network feedback. But I think you're right to say that the onus must be on both parties.
Thank you. Mr. Facilitator, I just wanted to clarify before you answer, in terms of the process henceforth, in terms of timelines and the like. We said initially, you said that the SEZ is is not a cut and dry. We need to make a case for Atlantis. And so we're getting a lot of people excited about all kinds of things here, which is good for the community. But in the end, all of these ideas could end up in nothing, without not being negative, but what I'm asking for the sake of clarity, processes, timelines is critical, which latches to Martinez's question and concern about ownership. In 6 months from now, half of the people in the room attends another meeting where some of these ideas that came from me or from the next person are being executed and without us, which is unfair on so many levels. So clarity on timelines would be good. Thanks.
Can I go?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, before I forget, who can I switch to give me the 3 addresses of the 3 hardware stores? I need one person. That's going to give me the addresses of the 3 hardware stores. Stanley, thank you.
Ja, maar sy kantoor, ek het nie meer.
Nee, ek stop hom not right now. I can survive for another day without it. But thank you.
It's probably at least 7 or 8, not 3.
Okay, so we are going to get those. I think the first thing that we must...
And steel shops.
And steel shops. Yeah. I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to recognize that exactly what Councillor is saying. We have got databases, but a lot, they say that your heat must be 80% of the emails that sent out must be accepted and 20% you have to patch up. But we are sitting with a situation where the reverse is. There's so many entities that are started and die in Atlantis and you still have all that information. So we sometimes sit with a situation where we're sending out emails and more than 60% of those are bouncing back. So people are just not keeping their information updated. So I think, firstly, that's something that we need, that we can work together on as a collective. I think I'm going to ask Michael. Michael's information is available. What we did as the SEZ project team is we looked at the industrial area. So we have a map of the industrial space here. If you say to us that what's going on in this industrial space, we know who's importing, we know who's exporting, we know, and we're trying to make matches there. We know who's getting rid of dirty water and we know who can use that dirty water. So one person's waste is another business's resource. So we are just focusing on the industrial area at this point in time. But I do think that it would be a good idea, and this is something that we are making an executive decision, and I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that. But for us to then be the conduit at this point in time, Michael's email address for businesses that do want to say, look, I want to be part of the activities in the SEZ, I'm forwarding you my contact details. So for that proactive idea also where people are saying, look, I'm putting my hand up, I want to be involved, here's my business address, because then we can turn around and say to the people that the reason you may have been left behind is because you didn't get involved, you see, because that spoon-feeding thing, we also passed that, where we're going to spoon-feed everybody. So I think that's the one thing we would like to do. Councillor who can come and do an update. If you send us the invitation, we will be there to do the update. One of the team will be there to do the update. On the idea of how do we take this forward, I started the day making it very clear that this is part of our process. What we would like to do as part of our application is to already say we have engaged with the community to this degree that we can even forward you the wishes of the community. If the SEZ designation doesn't come up, which I think there's a very slim chance that it will not happen, if that SEZ designation doesn't come off, then we are going to be doing all of this and we will be handing it over maybe to DTI. There may not be an SEZ to hand it over to. But if the SEZ team is established and the timelines we're looking at is, we're now hoping that we will have some kind of answer in the next 3 to 6 months when our application goes in August. So you have to count 3 to 6 months after that. We are hoping by that time we will have an SEZ established in this area with a full-time team that will just look at it. These ideas will be handled. In the meantime, we will continue to float the ideas. If it now comes back to me and says to me, Paola, we really do want to have a project, we will make sure that they are given the 7 projects that have come out of here. And they can then choose which project. What we will also do is we will give them the databases. I said to Michael, the big thing for us with this community engagement is the knowledge management. Making sure we have contact details for everybody. Now, if tomorrow you leave Atlantis, or tomorrow you change your telephone number, or tomorrow, and we don't have that, then we're still going to be sending it to the old address. But I know that in this office we can track everybody that was invited, who responded, who didn't respond. So if you come to me tomorrow and you say to me, we weren't invited, I'll say to you, what date and year. We'll give you all that information. I think the important thing for us, and that's the reason we're recording it, that's the reason we're writing down all the details that we're writing down, is because we want to know that we will do everything we can to make sure when we hand over that Martinez Fredericks is the one. When we put up the Martinez Fredericks, here's the current contact details we have for you. This is who they are. If the council of stakeholders get disbanded for whatever reason, and you don't come back to us with new contact details, there's nothing we can do. But we are going to do everything we can with the information that we currently have. So now World Vision, if Alan leaves World Vision tomorrow, we know that we can still send it to World Vision because I've got an organization there that we can work. So I think I just want to answer that. So I want to manage everybody's expectations, and I started my conversation saying this. Please do not be under the impression that every idea that comes out of this meeting is going to be implemented next week. It's not. What we are certainly going to do is we are going to communicate every idea that's come out of here. The ideas that align themselves to the strategy of the special economic zone one that is established are the ideas that are going to be taken forward. And we are going to encourage them very much to continue to engage with the community. But it may be a whole new set of individuals that are working there. That's unfortunately the nature of the beast. That's the way this thing has been running. We have stated from the beginning that we are not the project, we are the project office, we are not the SEZ team. The SEZ team must be put in place. And you never know, maybe Michael will be the, Almer is going to apply, or Ursula will remain the skills person. We have no idea what that space is going to look like. But I don't want to create any false expectations. So we will do what we can do. The good thing is that we've got the councillor here, we've got Stanley here. Whether there's an SEZ or not, those are that's the continuity for us. They will always be part of the structure and system, so that we can always make sure that they constantly bring these things forward. So I just want to be very clear on what, like I said this morning, be very clear on this. I am very encouraged by the kind of ideas that we're getting. I knew that we would get very good ideas, but I'm encouraged by the level of passion and detail behind it. There's one thing I do want to say, and I've been toying with this, and I've been having conversations with everybody. Brian has made a very important statement. Communities that get left behind, you have to say to yourself, why did we get left behind? Was it because we were divided? Was it because we were not strong enough? Was it because we weren't vigilant enough? And vigilant enough means make sure that you've got our right contact details with. That kind of vigilance is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about militant. I'm talking about practical, united voice. And the one thing I have found that divides communities is when one person gets up and hands out information that's not right. Inaccurate information. So there's lots of statements that get stood up, especially in community meetings. The one who's got the strongest, most eloquent voice gets up and says anything and will sluk it. Ons vat dit gospel gold, hy is die waarheid wat hy ons sê. Maar en dan gaan sê ons nog in 'n meeting, I know this.
Yeah.
But we've not questioned that information. We don't question the individual and say, where did you hear that? Waar het julle gehoor DTI het 300 miljoen? Waar het julle dit gehoor? Wie het julle gesê? Wie het gesê iemand anders het ons geld gevat en met 'n ander community? Waar kry julle dit? Hoekom sê julle dit? Because there are entities in the community that want the disruption. Because as long as the water is muddy, hulle kan gou ietsie smokkel. If the water is clear, then you're going to now see what everybody's agenda is. All I'm going to encourage this community to do is start questioning, especially the revolutionary comments and the militant comments. Sê net waar kry julle dit? Soos ek kan nou sê, daar is hardware stores, not 3 or 4, 7 or 8, maar dan gaan ek ons van Pieter vra, waar is die 7 or 8? Now when Peter gives me the 7 or 8, or I get from standing the 3 or 4, that is, I've now validated it. I got the evidence that there's hardware stores. And just al wat ek vra, as we go through this very sensitive process, there are going to be voices that want to disrupt. There are voices that want to disrupt. They don't want a strong community. And what we must be vigilant with. As mense opstaan en hulle sê, hulle doen 'n beter job in Harrismith. Hulle doen 'n beter job in Harrismith as in Atlantis. Vra, hoekom sê julle so? Wie kan met ons kom praat? Who can actually give us first-hand information? than to allow these strong, eloquent voices to actually deter us and take us off track. So that is all that I'm going to ask, is that we start questioning some of the things that get said to us, and we start questioning waar hoor jy dit, wie het vir jou gesê, what evidence do you have that that is true, no? Before we do that. So, Brian, I think just to sum up, I'm very excited about what's happened today. Brian's going to put a report together. We've got the recording of individuals. We've got the lists of people that were involved. If you continue to keep us updated and proactively engage with us, if you know there's somebody's got a catering company, I mean now this lady from catering, we told her what our drama was with the one catering lady, and she said, "Nee, maar sy doen nie eens meer catering. We now we've got a competent catering company that we can work with." Send us your information. If there's a craft people that are doing beautiful things with hats and caps and goeders, stuur vir ons die informatie. Then we can create the database. If there's people doing security, people doing, with each one of these towers and things that go up, they've got to do gardening. They've got to regenerate the ground that they miss. Send us your businesses. Let us know who you are so that we can actually. But I can't chase after everybody. Be proactive. Engage with the office. Peter, I answered your question and concern about time limits. I know there's another question. Martinez, have I addressed your concern around the fact that people may run with it? Yeah, what has not been answered? Besides a guarantee, which I know I can't give you, what has not been answered?
I think the part is maybe you're correct in saying that you can't give the guarantee the project will develop, but in the event of the project going forward, there should be some kind of feedback. One of our previous attempts when we did the turnaround strategy was to develop an SPV, which we call a community structure. When you go into areas like Kailicha, there's one point of entry, you get through to that kind of.
But Tennis, you are leading it, and that's what I'm saying. If this community needs to arrange themselves. That's not our competence. It's not a job that we can do for you. This community, you do nothing in Kailicha without going through that SPV. Nothing. You will get nothing right. But there's one point of contact. Atlantis needs to have. At the moment, we've got 13 entities here.
Can I speak about that? In all developments, the science of all developments everywhere, the only time it works if there's a single integrated leadership that manages the community. You must have a single integrated leadership. It's a precondition for any success. If you do not have that, then that means you're already starting off on a divided basis. You're not going to achieve anything. I mean, the issue of leadership and going through the Kailicha Development Forum, nobody is going to form a rival organization there. Nobody. The moment there's a single integrated leadership, one umbrella leadership, then people will. Then you know there's a partnership with the community. That's your community leadership, and that's the partnership. It's easier for others than to work with a recognized and authentic partner. So that's the first minimum precondition. The second one is, again, we're dealing with basic science, but the source of division amongst people and the source of conflict is skinner, half stories, gossip, things that are not true. And people, you know amongst yourselves, even in your relationships, it's not even the true story. And that creates bad relationships, it divides people, and it's even worse when it's organizations. Because now organizations get divided and they fight. And so it is so important to raise the question of authenticity and integrity. Die integriteit van wat hy persoon gesê het, hoe deursigtig is dit? En dit is hoekom dit belangrik is in terme van ons demokrasie, dat mense moet weet, hulle moet vra. Don't just accept what people say. The moment you simply accept because that sounded very grand, now you only accept it because it sounded grand. You have to ask the question in the way you did here. You have to say, from our experience, people come and they say all these nice things, but then the nice things don't happen. The people are supposed to benefit don't benefit.
You must answer the hard question. If you do not, if you start on a divided basis, you're doomed. So the first challenge also which comes out of here, to what extent will authentic, genuine organizations, not fly-by-nights, genuine organizations get together to find a way to form a single community leadership, a single recognized community leadership that the partners can work with. If you don't have that as your starting basis, you're going to have these communication problems, you're going to have all other kinds of problems. So I think what you started here is absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful in terms of your first major engagement towards getting a special economic zone designated. You started that because your voice as a community in this is very important. So the government can come up with all kinds of plans, but if they don't have the voice of the community or the support of the community, they'll So the question must be, yes, this is what they have to do, these are their timelines, but how do we now start to form at least an umbrella organization in the community that can speak with one voice on behalf of the community? And in that umbrella structure, people can argue and disagree, but when they've chosen their representatives to be the principal engagers with their partners, then at least you can know we hold you accountable. We told you to say this is your mandate. So it's about how we go forward. That's a different challenge in terms of what has happened inside the community. But I'm very elevated and excited at the idea that Atlantis will be put on a stronger prospect of getting a special economy. One last comment, then we will close, and I'll ask Viola to close. Peter?
I don't want to hijack the platform, but I wanted to ask if maybe between the councillor, between Martinez, perhaps Stanley, can somehow just in a sentence or three encapsulate the council of stakeholders I was led to believe in terms of my media work is due to become that, or is working to become the entry point in the community, albeit that there's two wards. I just needed clarity for the sake of this group of people here, how we can as a collective here engage with these council of stakeholders in order for us to work better towards the likes of the SEZs and other entities in the community.
I just want to say the council of stakeholders is only from Ward 29.
Yes.
And there's a Ward 32 as well. So that's a bit problematic. What I want to say, communication is important. Like the city is definitely in the business, so let us work it from a point and get the council of stakeholders and other communities. Maybe what I want to suggest is the ward forum, ward committee, or the other ward. And we have a ward committee member also on businesses in Ward 29, plus the community, the leader of like for instance here we have the council of stakeholders, Mr. Martinez Fredericks. There's no council of stakeholders in Ward 32. So that make it actually a bit difficult.
Okay, can we, sorry, before we go into a debate now about what is the best way to do it, only point is to accept the principle that there is a need for there to be an integrated leadership. How are we going to do that? I'm not sure that this is the meeting for
Because I just want to say to you sort of in terms of what has been put forward.
Yeah.
And what we as the Atlantis Economic Investment Development Forum is lobbying. And this platform is now currently doing just that dividing. Because now you hear this Ward 29, this Ward 32. Instead of moving forward with what have been put forward to government, I would want to advise us to stick to that.
That's fine. I accept what you're saying.
Otherwise, in terms of what will be put forward, is that we are now in agreement that yes, this is this 6 points must be going forward, but how it will be managed, it's an activity that will be realized through further engagements from organizations within the sphere of lobbying. So, putting the car before the horse.
Okay, I understand exactly what you're saying. Before I recognize you, I understand exactly what you're saying, but let me make this point again. This is the starting point. If you want to be successful with your projects going forward, a single integrated community leadership is a precondition. Now, whether you agree with that or not, I'm telling you what is the reality in terms of every single examination, all the research that has been done with regard to successful communities.
Yes.
Now, that's only the point that I'm making. So if you feel that that is an idea you want to take forward, that is a different process. For this process, we've come up with a conversation inviting all of you to come forward with certain ideas, certain projects to go forward. That has now been accomplished. And now you've asked for feedback, timelines. Timelines have been given by the end of November. Ideally, that is when the information will get back to you based on what is submitted, and within the space of, let's say, 3 months from there, where we will end up. What is going to be important is that organizations, they have to be authentic, they have to be, otherwise you're going to create new divisions. Tomorrow it's like, wie is hele waar hulle gepraat word, wie vir jou gemende, sy sê dit ding, sy sê daai ding. It's going to happen. And the other thing that's also going to happen is, and this is predictable, it's not it's predictable, is the moment value is going to come into a community, resources, there's going to be even more division in how you're going to manage that. Do you know from your own experiences? Wie gaan eat, wie gaan eat, who has access, wie is die leader, wie is die ou, waar kan hulle kom uit? Those are all the things that are predictable. But that is something you must begin to consider going forward.
Yes.
Don't destroy this good idea with not beginning to look at the future in terms of those other possible challenges that will come. Begin, now that's conflict early warning. It's going to happen unless you begin to recognize these ideas have come forward must now be protected through another process. That's the only point that I'm making. So I'm going to have to ask you to conclude.
On the side, I think one of the things I would encourage you to do, and maybe Councillor Stanley, you guys, maybe is to further engage with Brian, because clearly this is his thing. That's what he does. Important to have guidelines, your MOI, your Bible. Like every time there's dissension in the ranks, we go back to what did we agree to do. Remember I spoke about the objective? What is our objective? And I mean, he's being very kind to not use the word, but I'm going to use the word money. When money gets thrown, then we all, we just need to make sure that and we all know it. We know what's going to happen. Let's be strong, single voices as a community. Let's work together. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen for everybody in this community. Because you are going to make it very easy for people. If you don't do that, very easy for people to be disruptive. So that's my final word, but I'm sure you can pick up the conversation with Brian. We are going to make, one of the things we've asked as a specific outcome from here is that Brian will do a report which will be available to us. And we are going to have and that report is going to form part of our submission to the SEZ application, but it's also going to be part of my handover document to the team that will actually run the SEZ, to say to them, these are things that have come out of here, here's the contact details of everybody who attended, here's the video, etc., etc. I want to just reiterate our time frames. We are hoping that our application will be ready for Minister Windy to hand over to Minister Davies at the end of August. That's our self-imposed deadline. We recognize that there's a lot of stuff, but most of it is done. The team has been working very hard, most of it is done. We have given ourselves a little bit of time till the end of September. Now remember, when that application goes in, an advisory committee has to look at that application, and that advisory committee sits once a quarter. So we have to also time how we get back. They will come back to us to say to us, here's gaps, go and work on those gaps. That's why we are giving ourselves 3 to 6 months from the time the application is put forward for the back and forth. We don't suspect we're going to have lots of back and forth because we think we've really covered. After speaking to everybody else that put in applications, we feel that we've covered most of our gaps. But the reality is it could take up to 6 months. Now, if you start thinking September plus 6 months, you're talking much further into the beginning of the new year. But we will make sure that everybody is kept informed. If you phone Michael at the office, Michael is informed of our process. He will be able to tell you where we are. I want to say this. We will be, Councillor Stanley, and I think the people that are going to be running with this collective, we will offer all the support we can. we will give you the databases we can of entities that have attended these functions, entities that have been invited, that have declined or have not responded. So we've got nice databases. We will share that with you. If you need a facility to have your meeting, a safe, secure facility, and there's going to be a, you know how much your numbers are, if this facility can accommodate that number, I will certainly, as the Vice Chair of the Board, make sure that we make the facility available if there's not another facility. So we want to offer as much support as we can, but I want to caution, this is not my mandate. My mandate is not setting up a one voice for the community. That's not my mandate. My mandate is to be as supportive as I can in the community, and it's a good outcome for us if there's one voice for us to work. But I want to be very clear on nobody now putting that responsibility onto the SEZ project office because it doesn't belong there. Okay? I want to thank you very much for today. I want to thank you for trusting us to go through this process with us. I am so encouraged. Ek het al klaar vir my ouma gesê van die wat nou sy besigheid begin. And I think it's encouraging for me. It's encouraging for me to know that there are younger people wanting to work for the good of Atlantis, and it's encouraging for me to know I'm going to get nice Griqua recipes there. So it's nice to just know that we're meeting people who genuinely care about this area and the people in it. So thank you for today. There's lunch being served in the room that you had your tea and coffee in this morning. And once you've had your fill and you've networked enough and you've gotten enough phone numbers and email addresses, you are very welcome to leave. Thank you for today.
Thank you.
And we're going to also thank Brian very much for the way he's handled the session today. He handled it incredibly well. I said, ladies, my friend. Today was a very important day for the Atlantis Special Economic Zone Project Office. Today was the day where we chose to engage with the community, looking specifically for their input on projects and activities that could be part of our application for designation for an SEZ. Those projects, of course, are going to be representative of the community's voice in terms of their view on how they could possibly benefit from having a special economic zone in their area. It was a very important day for us because it was a day where we could consolidate and move off an anecdotal platform to actually hearing their voices and having their input. So we're very excited about what's come out of today. We have, I think, 5 or 6 solid projects that we can work towards. It's going to be part of an application process, and it's going to be part of our handover document to the actual SEZ operations team. I think the facilitator did an excellent job in containing everybody's enthusiasm and keeping everybody focused today. That was a very important aspect of the success of today. But there was enough time for people to voice their opinion, and everybody felt safe in this environment to voice that opinion. One of the important outcomes that we were encouraging but had really not taken on board as part of our mandate is to encourage the community to create a entity that could be a conduit for us to continue to work with, one entity, one voice that we could continue to work with, a voice that would have credibility in terms of its structure, in terms of its founding documents, in terms of the way the MOI would be structured, and of course an entity that would have the support of all 3 spheres of government. So we're very, very excited about what's happened. We appreciate the fact that great ideas have come from the community. The community have heeded our concerns around making sure that these projects are projects that will benefit the majority and would be inclusive of everybody in the community.
My name is Brian Williams. I'm a professor with the University of Lusaka. I work right across Africa, in fact, Liberia, Tanzania, Uganda, South Sudan, Ghana, Botswana, Lesotho, Swaziland, and of course in South Africa. A key part of the work I do is to look at how to create peace in communities, issues of mediation and conflict transformation. But central to that is the idea of community reconstruction and the development of communities. An opportunity has come through the possibility of a special economic zone being formulated now for the Atlantis community. And today was profound and significant in that the voices of the community, these diverse voices from different sectors, different backgrounds, were given an opportunity to express opinions as to what they would regard as critical to the success at a local economic level through a sustainable set of interventions for the community to become a much more engaging, safer community and a much more harmonious community. So this is a key opportunity, a principal platform on which these wonderful ideas could be built to ensure community cohesion and a reflection of human dignity within communities.